My name is Leah Joseph and I was 18 when I first put on a military uniform. Standing in front of the mirror at basic training, I looked like a little girl playing dress-up. The uniform was too big. My boots were too heavy. But I was proud. I grew up poor in a small town. My mom worked 2 jobs just to pay rent. College was impossible. The army was my only chance for a better life. "You look good, soldier," said my bunkmate Amy. She was from Texas and had a big smile. "I feel nervous," I admitted. Everyone does on the first day. But I was not just nervous about training. I was nervous about fitting in. I was always the quiet kid in school. The one who ate lunch alone. The one other kids forgot about. At least in the army I thought everyone starts equal. I was wrong about that. If you like our revenge stories, please subscribe for more. We drop powerful news stories every week, filled with truth, emotion, and justice. Don't miss the next one. And remember, some stories hurt, but they heal too. Subscribe now and join the journey. After basic training, I got assigned to Fort Campbell in Kentucky. My job was supply specialist. I would manage equipment and inventory for my unit. My squad leader was Sergeant Williams. He was tall and mean-looking. When I reported to him, he looked me up and down like I was broken. "So you're the new supply girl," he said. "Hope you're better than the last one." "I'll work hard, Sergeant." "We'll see about that." The other soldiers in my unit were mostly men. There were only 3 women total. Most of them seemed okay, but a few looked at me like I did not belong. Corporal Anderson was the worst. He was loud and popular with the other guys. "Look what they sent us," he whispered to his friends. A little girl who probably never lifted anything heavier than a textbook. I pretended not to hear him, but my face turned red anyway. This was going to be harder than I thought. My first week was terrible. Everything I did was wrong, according to Sergeant Williams. "Joseph, why is this inventory messed up?"
"I'm sorry, Sergeant."
"I'll fix it right away." Sorry doesn't help when soldiers need equipment. The truth was the inventory was already messed up when I got there. But I was too scared to say that. Corporal Anderson made everything worse. When I dropped a box of supplies, he laughed loudly. "Careful there, Butterfingers. That equipment costs more than your car." I did not have a car. I could not afford one. "Maybe they should have sent someone stronger," said Private Miller. He was Anderson's best friend. "Maybe they should have sent someone smarter," Anderson added. Other soldiers watched but said nothing. Some looked uncomfortable, but they did not help me. I picked up the supplies and kept working. My hands were shaking, but I tried to stay calm. I could do this job. I just needed more time to learn. If you like our revenge stories, please subscribe for more. We drop powerful news stories every week, filled with truth, emotion, and justice. Don't miss the next one. And remember, some stories hurt, but they heal too. Subscribe now and join the journey. The bullying got worse every day. Anderson and Miller found new ways to make my life miserable. They hid my equipment so I could not find it during inspections. They told other soldiers I was incompetent. They made jokes about me during meetings. "Hey Joseph," Anderson called out during lunch. "My grandmother could lift more weight than you." "At least his grandmother finished high school," Miller added. I had finished high school. But Anderson told everyone I was a dropout. The worst part was Sergeant Williams. He believed everything they said about me. When supplies went missing, he blamed me first. When reports were late, he assumed it was my fault. "Joseph, you're on probation," he told me one day. "One more mistake and you're gone." "But Sergeant, I didn't make those mistakes." "Are you saying my other soldiers are lying?" I wanted to say yes. But I was just a private. He was a sergeant. Who would believe me?
"No, Sergeant."
Good. Now get back to work. 3 months into my assignment, everything fell apart. Someone sabotaged a major equipment shipment. Important supplies went to the wrong base. Sergeant Williams was furious. "Joseph, get in here now." I ran to his office. Anderson and Miller were already there, looking serious. "These men tell me you mixed up the shipping labels," Williams said. "That's not true, Sergeant. I double-checked everything." "Then how do you explain this mess?" Anderson spoke up. "Sergeant, I tried to help her. But she said she knew what she was doing." "I never said that." I asked for help and you ignored me. Now you're calling me a liar? Anderson's voice got loud. Sergeant, this is exactly the attitude problem we've been telling you about. Williams looked at me with disgust. Joseph, you're a liability to this unit. I'm recommending you for discharge. Please, Sergeant. Give me another chance. I gave you 3 months of chances. You're done. I knew it was useless to argue. They had already decided to get rid of me. But I also knew the truth. My last 2 weeks at Fort Campbell were the longest of my life. Word spread quickly that I was being discharged. Some soldiers avoided me like I had a disease. Others felt sorry for me, but did not say anything. Anderson and Miller acted like they had won a war. Too bad it didn't work out. Anderson said, fake sympathy. Maybe the army just isn't for everyone. Yeah, some people are better suited for easier jobs, Miller agreed. Amy, my friend from basic training, found me packing my things. This isn't fair, Leah. Everyone knows they sabotaged you. Knowing and proving are different things. You could file a complaint. Against who? My squad leader? My fellow soldiers? It would just make things worse. Amy hugged me. What will you do now? I don't know yet. But I'm not giving up. The day I left, I took one last look at the base. Soldiers were doing morning exercises. The American flag waved in the wind. It should have been my home. Instead, it was the place that broke my heart. But I made myself a promise that day. I would be back. Back home, I felt like a failure. My mom tried to make me feel better. Honey, maybe it's for the best. The military isn't really for girls anyway. Yes, it is, Mom. They just didn't give me a fair chance. Well, what matters now is moving forward. But I could not move forward. Not yet. I was angry. I was hurt. But mostly I was determined. I enrolled in community college using my partial GI Bill benefits. I studied business administration during the day and worked at a grocery store at night. In my dorm room, I kept a photo from my first day in uniform. I looked so young and hopeful. Every time I wanted to quit school, I looked at that photo. I'm not giving up, I told my reflection. My plan was simple. Get my degree, build a successful career, and find a way back into the military. But this time, I would return with power. This time, I would be the one in charge. Anderson and Miller had no idea what they had started. College was different from the military. People were kinder. Professors encouraged me instead of tearing me down. For the first time in months, I felt smart again. I majored in logistics and supply chain management. Everything I learned reminded me of my time in the Army. But now I understood the theory behind the work. My grades were excellent. I made the dean's list every semester. I joined the student government and led study groups. You should consider graduate school, my advisor Professor Wilson said. You have real leadership potential. Leadership. That word felt good to hear. I also stayed in shape. Every morning I ran 5 miles. Every evening I did push-ups and sit-ups. I wanted to be stronger than when I left the Army. During my senior year, I applied to a master's program in logistics. I also researched ways to return to military service. The Army had a program for college graduates to become officers. Instead of being an enlisted soldier, I could become a lieutenant. A lieutenant outranks sergeants. A lieutenant gives orders to corporals and privates. The idea made me smile for the first time in years. I earned my bachelor's degree with highest honors. At graduation, my mom cried with pride. I'm so proud of you, Leah. Look how far you've come. This is just the beginning, Mom. Graduate school was even better. I specialized in military logistics and supply chain optimization. My thesis was about improving efficiency in military supply operations. I studied every aspect of military organization, chain of command, military justice, leadership principles. I wanted to understand the system that had failed me. More importantly, I wanted to understand how to use that system properly. During my second year, I did an internship with a defense contractor. They supplied equipment to military bases, including Fort Campbell. You really understand military operations, my supervisor said. Have you considered a career in defense? Actually, I'm planning to return to active duty. As enlisted? As an officer. He looked impressed. That's ambitious. But based on your work here, I think you could do it. By the time I finished my master's degree, I had a clear plan. Apply for officer candidate school. Get commissioned as a lieutenant. Request assignment to Fort Campbell. And then finally get my revenge. Officer candidate school was harder than anything I had ever done. The physical training was brutal. The academic work was intense. The pressure was constant. But I was ready for it. 5 years of preparation had made me strong. Candidate Joseph, my instructor said during week 10. Outstanding work on your leadership exercise. Thank you, sir. You show real potential as a military leader. The words felt like medicine for an old wound. For years, Anderson and Miller had told everyone I was not leadership material. But they were wrong. The best part was meeting other future officers. Many of them were prior enlisted soldiers who had earned their degrees and come back. Why did you leave active duty the first time? Asked Tom, another candidate. I told him the short version. It wasn't a good fit then. But I've grown since then. Going back to the same base? If I'm lucky. Revenge tour. I smiled. Something like that. 3 months later, I graduated from officer candidate school. At the ceremony, they pinned second lieutenant bars on my uniform. Lieutenant Joseph. It had a nice ring to it. Now for the real test. Getting assigned to Fort Campbell required careful planning. I could not just request it directly. That would look suspicious. Instead, I emphasized my expertise in supply chain management. I mentioned my master's thesis about military logistics. I highlighted my internship experience with defense contractors. Lieutenant Joseph, said my assignment officer, your background makes you perfect for a logistics position. We have an opening at Fort Campbell for a supply operations officer. Fort Campbell sounds interesting, sir. You would be in charge of supply operations for an entire battalion. It's a big responsibility for a new lieutenant. I'm ready for the challenge, sir. 2 weeks later, I got my orders. Report to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Position, battalion supply officer. I would be responsible for all supply operations. I would supervise multiple supply specialists and non-commissioned officers, including, if they were still there, Sergeant Williams, Corporal Anderson, and Private Miller. When I called my mom with the news, she was worried. Are you sure about this, honey? Going back to the place that hurt you? I'm not the same person who left, Mom. Now I'm going back to make things right. I packed my bags with a feeling of excitement I had not had in years. The drive to Fort Campbell felt like a victory lap. 5 years ago, I had left in shame. Now I was returning as an officer. I checked into the bachelor officer quarters and put on my dress uniform. In the mirror, I saw a confident woman with lieutenant bars on her shoulders. My first stop was the personnel office to get my assignment details. Lieutenant Joseph reporting for duty. I told the clerk. Welcome to Fort Campbell, ma'am. Your battalion commander wants to see you at 0800 tomorrow. Roger that. That evening, I drove around the base. Everything looked the same, but I felt completely different. Soldiers saluted me as I passed. I was no longer the scared private who got picked on. I was an officer. I was their superior. The next morning, I met Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, my new battalion commander. Lieutenant Joseph, welcome aboard. I hear you're our new supply officer. Yes, sir. I'm excited to get started. Your predecessor left some challenges. The supply operations need significant improvement. I'm confident I can handle it, sir. Good. You'll be working with some experienced NCOs. Sergeant Williams runs the day-to-day operations. My heart jumped. Williams was still here. I look forward to working with him, sir. The battalion supply office looked exactly the same. The same desks, the same filing cabinets, the same smell of coffee and paper. But this time I walked in as the person in charge. Sergeant Williams was at his desk when I entered. He looked older and more tired than I remembered. Sergeant Williams? I'm Lieutenant Joseph, your new supply officer. He stood up and saluted. Good morning, ma'am. Welcome to the unit. He did not recognize me. 5 years had changed my appearance. I was taller, stronger, and more confident. My hair was different. My voice was steadier. Thank you, Sergeant. I'd like to meet the rest of the team. Of course, ma'am. We have 4 supply specialists and 2 more NCOs. He led me around the office, introducing everyone. Most faces were new. But then I saw him. Corporal Anderson. Still a corporal after 5 years. Still the same arrogant expression. Corporal Anderson, this is Lieutenant Joseph, Williams said. Anderson saluted lazily. Mang. He did not recognize me either. Good. Pleasure to meet you, Corporal, I said calmly. Miller was there too, also still a private first class. Neither had been promoted in 5 years. Interesting. My first week as supply officer was about learning the current operations. I reviewed every procedure, every inventory report, every efficiency metric. The supply operations were a mess. Equipment was missing. Reports were late. Accountability was poor. Sergeant Williams, I called him into my office. We need to discuss some problems. What kind of problems, ma'am? Missing equipment. Inaccurate reports. Poor accountability procedures. Well, ma'am, we do our best with limited resources. Your best isn't good enough. I'm implementing new procedures immediately. Williams looked uncomfortable. For 5 years he had run things his way. Now he had a boss who actually understood supply operations. Ma'am, with respect, we've been doing this for a long time. And the results show that. From now on, all procedures go through me first. I handed him a detailed plan I had prepared. New inventory systems. Daily accountability checks. Performance metrics for each soldier. These changes will be implemented starting Monday. Yes, ma'am. After he left, I smiled. This was just the beginning. Williams had no idea he was talking to the private he had failed to protect 5 years ago. The new procedures I implemented were strict but fair. Every piece of equipment had to be accounted for daily. Every report had to be accurate and on time. Every soldier had to meet performance standards. Some soldiers adapted well. They appreciated clear expectations and organized systems. Others struggled. Especially Anderson and Miller. Ma'am, Anderson complained during a team meeting. These new procedures are taking too much time. Time management is part of your job, Corporal. But we never had to do this much paperwork before. And that's why equipment was constantly missing. Questions. Anderson's face turned red, but he said nothing. Miller raised his hand. Ma'am, what if we make honest mistakes? Honest mistakes get corrected with training. Careless mistakes get documented in your performance review. Both men looked worried. Good. After the meeting, Sergeant Williams approached me privately. Ma'am, the men are having trouble adjusting to your leadership style. Which men specifically? Well, Anderson and Miller especially. They're good soldiers just set in their ways. Good soldiers don't lose equipment and file false reports. False reports. I handed him a folder. Anderson reported equipment as present that was actually missing. Miller signed off on inventory he never checked. Williams looked at the evidence with surprise. I'll counsel them, ma'am. No, I will. Military performance reviews happen every 6 months. They determine promotions, assignments, and career advancement. Anderson and Miller's reviews were coming up. This was my chance to officially document their poor performance. I called Anderson into my office first. Corporal Anderson, we need to discuss your performance. Yes, ma'am. Your accuracy rate on inventory reports is 60%. The Army standard is 95%. I'll try harder, ma'am. You've also lost 3 pieces of equipment worth over $10,000. That wasn't my fault. The equipment was defective. Did you file proper loss reports? Well, no, but...
No excuses, Corporal.
Your performance is unacceptable. I handed him his written review. Multiple areas marked needs improvement. Overall rating. Below standards. This will hurt my chances for promotion, he said. Good performance leads to promotion. Poor performance has consequences. Ma'am, I feel like you have it out for me. I looked directly into his eyes. I only care about results, Corporal. Improve your performance or face further consequences. After he left, I allowed myself a small smile. Anderson still had no idea who I was. 3 months into my assignment, the battalion commander called me to his office. Lieutenant Joseph, I wanted to commend your work. Supply operations have improved dramatically. Thank you, sir. Equipment accountability is up 20%. Report accuracy is nearly perfect. How did you do it? Clear standards, consistent enforcement, and proper training, sir. The previous supply officer let things slide for too long. You've turned it around quickly. I had excellent training in logistics management, sir. Keep up the good work. I'm recommending you for early promotion to first lieutenant. Early promotion? That meant I would outrank even more people, even faster. I appreciate your confidence, sir. As I left his office, I passed Anderson in the hallway. He saluted reluctantly. Mang. Corporal. Soon, I would have captain's bars. Then major's leaves. Eventually, I might even make lieutenant colonel. Anderson and Miller would spend their careers saluting me and calling me ma'am. The thought made me very happy. 6 months into my assignment, I overheard Anderson and Miller talking privately. This new lieutenant is making our lives miserable, Anderson said. Her standards are impossible, Miller agreed. Remember when Williams used to let us slide on everything? Those were the good days. Yeah, back when that loser Joseph was here. At least picking on her was fun. Whatever happened to her anyway? Who cares? She was pathetic. Probably working at McDonald's somewhere. I step. Tell me about this Joseph person. Anderson relaxed, thinking he was safe. Just some weak soldier who couldn't hack it. We helped encourage her to leave. How did you encourage her? Pointed out her mistakes. Kept her focused. By bullying her? No, ma'am, just military motivation. I smiled coldly. I see. And you think she was pathetic? Yes, ma'am. Totally unfit for military service. Well, gentlemen, I have some news for you. They looked confused. My name is Lieutenant Leah Joseph. I'm the pathetic loser you bullied out of the army. Their faces went white. Anderson and Miller stared at me in shock. Miller's mouth actually fell open. That's impossible, Anderson whispered. Is it? Take a good look. Recognition slowly dawned on their faces. The scared private they had tormented was now their commanding officer. Ma'am, we didn't know. Miller stammered. Of course you didn't. You were too busy being bullies to pay attention to who I really was. Ma'am, if we said anything inappropriate. You said I was pathetic. Unfit for service. Working at McDonald's. I stepped closer. How does it feel to salute the pathetic loser? Both men looked sick. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You will continue to do your jobs. You will meet every standard I set. You will treat every soldier with respect. Yes, ma'am. And if I ever hear of either of you bullying anyone else, I will make your careers very short. Understood, ma'am. Good. Now get back to work. After they left, I sat at my desk, the same desk where Williams used to belittle me. But now it was my desk. My office. My authority. I had kept my promise to myself. I was back. Word spread quickly through the unit. The soldiers were shocked to learn their supply officer was the same person Anderson and Miller had bullied years ago. Some were impressed. Others were worried about what I might do. I called a unit meeting to address the situation. I know there are rumors about my previous time at this base. I began. Yes, I was here before as Private Joseph. Yes, I was treated poorly by some soldiers. Everyone listened carefully. But I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to lead this unit with professionalism and fairness. I looked directly at Anderson and Miller. Every soldier will be judged by their current performance, not their past actions. Meet my standards and you'll succeed. Fail to meet them and you'll face consequences. However, bullying and harassment will not be tolerated. Anyone who mistreats another soldier will answer to me personally. After the meeting, several soldiers approached me privately. Ma'am, said Specialist Johnson, those guys used to pick on me too. I'm glad you're in charge now. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, Johnson. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for standing up for us. This was why I had come back. Not just for revenge, but to protect others from what I had experienced. Over the next year, the unit culture completely changed. Soldiers focused on their work instead of finding people to pick on. Performance improved across the board. I implemented mentorship programs. Experienced soldiers helped new ones instead of hazing them. Recognition programs celebrated achievements instead of ignoring them. Anderson and Miller barely spoke unless spoken to. Their performance improved because they had no choice. But they never caused problems for other soldiers again. Williams was transferred to another unit. Before he left, he apologized. "Ma'am, I failed you as a soldier and as a leader. I should have protected you from harassment." "Yes, you should have. But you can learn from that failure." "I will. And ma'am, you've become an excellent officer." Coming from him, that meant something. I was promoted to first lieutenant, then captain. Each promotion meant more authority, more responsibility, and more ability to protect soldiers under my command. My mother visited for my captain's promotion ceremony. "I'm so proud of you, Leah. You turned a terrible situation into something positive. The best revenge is success, Mom. And the best leaders are those who know what it feels like to be powerless." As a captain, I was assigned to oversee multiple supply units across the base. It gave me the perfect opportunity to identify and stop bullying wherever I found it. During a routine inspection, I discovered a situation similar to my own experience. A young female soldier was being harassed by her male colleagues. "Private Wilson," I called her aside privately. "How are you adjusting to military life?" "Fine, ma'am," she said, but her eyes told a different story. "Any problems with your unit members?" She hesitated. "No, ma'am. Wilson, I was a private once too. I know what harassment looks like." She started crying. "They hide my equipment. They tell everyone I'm incompetent. My sergeant doesn't believe me when I report problems." "Not anymore." "What are their names?" I spent the next week investigating. I documented everything. Then I called the harassers into my office one by one. "Your behavior toward Private Wilson ends today," I told each of them. "Any further harassment will result in formal charges." To their sergeant, I was more direct. "You have failed to protect a soldier under your command. That ends now, or you'll be looking for a new career." Within a month, Wilson's situation improved completely. She thanked me with tears in her eyes. "You saved my military career, ma'am."
No, Wilson.
"You saved it. I just leveled the playing field." 5 years after my return to Fort Campbell, I was promoted to major. The promotion ceremony was held in the same building where I had been humiliated as a private. Anderson and Miller were both still corporals. In 10 years of military service, neither had advanced beyond their current rank. Their performance reviews, written by me and other officers, told the story of soldiers who did the minimum required and nothing more. They attended my promotion ceremony because attendance was mandatory. Watching them salute me as Major Joseph was the sweetest moment of my military career. After the ceremony, Colonel Hayes pulled me aside. "Major Joseph, I have a new assignment for you. The Pentagon wants you to head a task force on military workplace culture." "What kind of task force, sir?" "Developing policies to prevent harassment and bullying in military units. Your background makes you uniquely qualified." "I accept, sir." This was bigger than I had ever imagined. I would be helping to change military culture across all branches of service. That night, I called my mom. "I'm going to Washington, Mom, to help fix the problems I experienced." "You've come so far, honey." That scared little girl who left Fort Campbell would be amazed. She wouldn't recognize me now. Yes, she would. You're still the same person inside. You just learned to fight back. My assignment to the Pentagon was a dream come true. I worked with senior officers from all military branches to develop new anti-harassment policies. "Major Joseph," said General Thompson during our first meeting, "your insights have been invaluable. These new policies will protect thousands of service members." "Thank you, sir. This work is personally important to me." The policies we developed were comprehensive. Mandatory reporting of harassment. Independent investigation procedures. Severe consequences for both harassers and leaders who failed to stop them. Most importantly, we created protection for victims who reported problems. During my time in Washington, I received a letter from Private Wilson, the soldier I had helped at Fort Campbell. "Ma'am, I wanted you to know I made specialist today. My new unit treats me with respect. Thank you for showing me that the military can be a place where people like us succeed. I also heard from other soldiers whose careers I had helped save. Each letter reminded me why this work mattered. But the most satisfying news came from Fort Campbell. Anderson had been passed over for promotion again. Miller had been discharged for poor performance. The unit I had once commanded was now considered one of the best supply operations in the Army. My replacement, Captain Rodriguez, sent me updates. "Ma'am, the culture you built here is still strong. We haven't had a single harassment complaint in 2 years." 10 years after returning to Fort Campbell, I was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. I now outranked everyone who had ever bullied me, including Sergeant Williams. The Pentagon assignment led to a permanent position developing military leadership policies. My work was implemented across all branches of the armed forces. During a conference on military leadership, a young female officer approached me. "Ma'am, I heard you speak about overcoming adversity. Your story inspired me to stay in the military when I wanted to quit." "What made you want to quit?" "Harassment from my peers. But I remembered what you said. The best revenge is becoming so successful they have to salute you." I smiled. "Did it work?" "Yes, ma'am. I just made captain, and 2 of my former harassers work for me now." That evening, I visited Arlington Cemetery. At my grandmother's grave, I left flowers and my latest promotion certificate. "I kept my promise, Grandma. I didn't let them win." The wind rustled through the trees. For a moment, I could almost hear her voice. "I always knew you were special, Leah." Looking back, I realized my bullies had done me a favor. They forced me to leave the military, get an education, and come back stronger. Anderson and Miller thought they were destroying my career. Instead, they launched it. They thought they were proving I didn't belong in the military. Instead, they motivated me to change it. They thought they had won when I left Fort Campbell as a defeated private. But I had the last laugh when I returned as their commanding officer. The scared girl they bullied was gone. In her place stood a confident leader who would spend her career protecting others from what she had endured. That was the best revenge of all. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more powerful narratives, and share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what part hit you the hardest. Thanks for watching.